Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today, Bitcoin got a pretty big dump. We're going to talk about it. So, zooming in here, obviously the weekly chart, the weekly candle, we successfully came back and retested this candle here, which is the important candle, which was back testing the bull market support band, or I have the 20-week moving average. So the following week, right, we came down and now we officially retested 50% of this wick. So, we talked about we can come all the way back down to retest the bull market support band. I was hoping we can flag out and continue going higher as the fractal would suggest. But, clearly we still have a lot more work to do. So let me take this off. So what happened yesterday is we have this bull flag, or this downward correction, right? Where, we pumped to the upside and now we're flagging. It's looking good, right? And then boom, we get a big breakout. We break above the downward resistance line. But what happened is, and this is always the case, right? When you get to the retracement levels, you just don't really have an idea of which way it's going to turn. So you got to watch it closely in between point A and point B, right? So we had a big breakout. We got into all of this resistance, right, into the retracement levels of this down move, and we couldn't get the job done. So bam, we came right down like an escalator. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of what happened. So now what? Well, that's a pretty nasty engulfing candle. That is a massive engulfing candle. We haven't had a candle like that going back to May 1st. So, the way, so to me, like, if it would have came down, like if we came down in A, we come up in B, and then we kind of just gradually come down for C, that would be bullish, right? But we impulse to the downside. So that tells me, we got more work cut out. So what we can see here is either this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, and now we're getting 5. So let me take that off here. Actually, let's go to the 1-hour chart. And if you haven't caught yesterday's second video, highly recommend watching it, because we go over sort of the bearish, sequences that may occur, right? And this certainly looks like it, at least in the short term. So we can have, so what is this? Where are we going? Is the bottom still in? Things like that. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, or let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This could be an A, B, C. So A, B, and now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So this whole thing can be an A, B, C. So that's idea number 1. Idea number 2, which means if we have an A, B, C, right, we could potentially come back down to the bull market support band. And, we've talked about that a lot, of the possibility of that happening. And that's exactly what Total 3 did, right? Basically, all of the altcoins did that. So right here, you can see the price had the big dump, right? We came all the way back up. We got rejected by the resistance. And then we came all the way back down. We still made a higher low. Here's our low, here's our higher low. And we back tested the bull market support band. So is Bitcoin somewhere right there, right? So look at Bitcoin now. Same thing, right? Potentially we have this move to the upside. Well, first we had the big drop. We hit the bull market support band. We came all the way up. We got some resistance in here, right? And now we're potentially coming all the way back down to retest the bull market support band. So that's totally in the cards, and from this recent move, I would say even likely that that's what's going to happen. I'm hoping that's we can find some support soon, because who wants to go back down there again? The reason why I say that is it's actually good to test it, but when you come down, you run the risk of the altcoins losing their support, because some of them are hanging by a thread. Now, Total 3 has a lot of wiggle room to the downside. Ethereum does not. I mean, Ethereum is literally at the brink of destruction, right? So Ethereum has lost the bull market support band. It has this massive, ugly head and shoulders pattern, and it's right down on support. So this is really not good for Ethereum. And to me, is this what's telling the story, right? Is Ethereum telling the story, or is it other coins that are telling the story? So maybe it's got something to do with the lawsuit that's coming up, right? They received a Wells notice, so I would imagine they're going to get sued. So when that lawsuit comes out, it's going to be pretty interesting, right? And that's why it's so important that Ripple wins their lawsuit, because that will, if Ethereum gets sued, right, and then all of a sudden Ripple wins, then it's kind of be like, well, if Ripple won, then Ethereum can win too. And by the way, Ethereum, the founders of Ethereum, they don't like Ripple. They don't like XRP. They don't like Ripple. And they make fun of them, saying, oh, it's a security, and ha 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 ha, you're getting sued, right? But then when Ethereum gets sued, now the tables have become reversed. But that's the difference between their founders and, for example, Brad Garlinghouse, right? XRP Las Vegas, he stood up for Ethereum, something Joseph Lubin and Vitalik would never do, right? Basically explaining, hey, Ethereum, is not a security. And, the SEC is in the wrong here, right? But if it was the tables reversed, Ethereum would be, running all over XRP. So that's the difference. Maybe Brad Garlinghouse is just showing class. Maybe he's just showing the optics, right? Optics are important. So, we'll see about that. But yeah, this does not look good for Ethereum. We lost the low, or we're about to lose the low. We lost the bull market support band. So if I put the head here, if this is a head and shoulders, right, and then I bring it all the way down here, that is pretty nasty, right? That would get us down, try to get it closer, about right there. So that would actually bring us to about $2,500. So I would say somewhere in this zone in here is where the drop would be, between 2,400 and 2,800. So if that's the case, right, then what happens to Theta? What happens to Bitcoin? What happens to the whole market, right? Well, you got to go back and watch yesterday's video. I put out part 2. I explained exactly what the situation could be if we lost the bull market support band. Now, if Ethereum does it, it's not too bad. If Bitcoin does it, we're in for I don't say a rude awakening, but at least a delayed for the bull run. Because going back to when I first put my video out back in October 3rd was basically Theta right here, and I basically said, look, we're down in here. The main objective is to get back into the retracement levels. Now, we missed it by, I wanted it to get right about there. So we came close, but we didn't quite hit it yet. So my belief is that we're still going to get up here. We're still going to get up here. But the way we get up there could be a little bit more challenging. Because when you look at what Theta is currently doing, right, it doesn't have too much wiggle room. Let me see. Let's go down to the 4-hour. Yeah, it doesn't have much wiggle room. I would say if Ethereum loses its bull market support band, I would imagine Theta does as well. So that's kind of where we're at here. Now, the bullish thing I can see, blockchain backer talked about a fractal, and I'll pull that fractal up here. He actually did a rapid fire video today. I was actually surprised. He usually only talks about Bitcoin and Total 3 and others. He doesn't really go in specifics on individual coins. I mean, once in a blue moon, he'll go into XRP. But he went through a lot of charts. Very, very, very fast. Didn't really do any analysis on an extended level, but he did talk about a lot of important things. So shout out to him, and definitely go watch that video. But essentially, he was talking about moving averages and things like that, specifically with Cardano, right? And how we had a bullish cross, right? Basically, and I agree with that, right? But the thing is, with moving averages, you got to look at the angle in which they're pointing, right? So, for example, let me put the moving averages up. If the moving average crosses, is it crossing as the long-term moving average is pointing down, or the short-term average is pointing down, or are they both angled up as they cross, right? So the angle in which they cross and the current angle that they're at now is more important than the actual cross, right? But a lot of people say, oh, look, bullish cross. And I'm not saying him. I'm not talking about him. I'm just saying in general, right? A lot of people will say, look, we have a bullish cross. We have a bearish cross. We have a death cross. We have a golden cross, right? And they get excited or they get upset. But it's more so, yeah, it's true. We did get the cross, but look at the angle that it crossed, right? So, for example, let's see if we can find... Well, this is the 4-hour chart. Let me go to, the daily chart. See, this is, the best case scenario, and this is another reason why I was so very bullish as well. You can see, right, look at the red moving average crossing over the orange one, right, which is the 20 crossing above the 50. But look at the angle, right? Let me show you. Both of the angles are pointing up, right? The red one is pointing up, the orange one is pointing up. That is important, right? Look at the red one crossing above the blue one. The blue one is also angled to the upside, right? And then we go even further, and you can see, right, if I zoom in even further, you can see the slant. You can see the blue is actually angled up. So the person who taught me that was a man named Tyler Jenks. He's an amazing, he's the guy who did hyperwave. He's the guy who came up with the hyperwave theory and also Consensio, right? I didn't know him personally, but I watched his videos and his collaborations with different people. And anyway, he passed away, I think in 2019, when Bitcoin had that run up to 14K, which was only a retracement. But I learned a lot from his videos, and he was very smart, and it was such a shame that he passed away, because he was a brilliant mind, and I would love to have a chat with him and what he thinks about it now. So when we go to the weekly chart, right, the main thing is, let's take everything off the screen, including the price, right? And I'll just show you kind of what his mindset is. So there's all the moving averages. So when you zoom out, completely zoom out, what is Consensio saying? Long-term moving average, up. 100 moving average, up. 50 moving average, up. 20-week moving average, up. They're all angled up. They're all in consensus with each other, meaning they're all bullish, right? So from a long-term perspective, we're bullish. Now, it is a lagging indicator, right? It doesn't mean it's going to stay like that. But at least the 20 is still angled, right? The 20-week is still angled to the upside. And if you look, we're sitting right on the 20 and the bull market support band, which is very important. So the way I look at it is we're still developing a base down in here, right? We're still developing a base. Now, blockchain backer also, by the way, shout out to that guy. He's an amazing talent. Highly recommend watching his videos. I don't catch his lives because I just don't have time and it's not a right time. But when he does a video, I try to watch what he has to say. So to me, he was also comparing, right? And I'm going to explain. Basically, this video is to kind of explain, and I don't like to do that, but to kind of explain his video, but then also explain the reasonings behind what he's saying and then also what I'm saying. Because to me, more information is better than limited information. So let's start here with his fractal. So he's basically comparing what happened over here, and I like it. I really like it. We had an ABC. We came down. We actually hit the 100 day moving average. We came back up, and then we came back down and made a higher low. So we consistently made higher lows in here. We didn't make it to the bull market support band because back then things were way more bullish because this wave to the upside was very, very, very strong, right? Because you needed less liquidity to move the market. We were only about 90 billion, less than 100 billion. So think about that for a second. All the altcoins on planet Earth was valued, all of them was valued less than $100 billion. That is, wow, that's insane, right? And then when you go back, right, most of the time, like throughout in here, it was 50, 60 billion, right? 40 billion, 50 billion. And it got all the way down to 27 billion. So that means every single altcoin on planet Earth, all the good ones, all the bad, all of them, except Ethereum, was valued at, $28 billion. That is crazy. So now we're sitting up here at 650 billion, almost 644, right? So, back then it was easier to move the market. So let's take a fractal here and we'll discuss it, right? And I'll tell you what I think about it, and I'll explain, basically the two different circumstances surrounding this fractal, and then also the more bearish opportunity. I say opportunity because anything bearish that occurs in the short term is basically a bullish setup for the long term. So to me, and I'm just going to take the price. And by the way, again, if you haven't seen the video yesterday, the second part 2, I go over basically all of the the bearish sort of things that could occur. So if you look back over here, you can see the angles of the moving averages. So the long term obviously is angled up, but the short term, you can see they continue to remain up, right? They were down in the initial beginning, but then they kind of flattened out. And now they're angled back up. Now, if we look today, we can see, the long term is angled up, the bull market is angled up, right? The blue is starting to level off, which is the 100-day. But you can see these are basically falling, right? So that's what I mean by the angles, right? How are they angled? Just because they crossed, yeah, that means something, but is it angled up? Is it angled down? Right? Is one angled up and one angled down? That's important for Consensio. So we can see, right, in the initial fall. So let me turn the price on. In that initial fall, so we had 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So that's kind of where we're at. So let's go back over here, comparing it as a fractal. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're somewhere in here. So if we look closely, we can see the moving averages, you know, the only one that was angled down was the 20. And that one sort of flattened out as we got closer in here. You can see right in here. So if we go back in time and look at this one, we can see both of them are angled down and both of them are getting rejected. So that's kind of what I'm explaining here. And that's you know, the fractal can still play out, and you have to understand the market cap back then was smaller. It was much more bullish, right, to keep the price going. But yeah, you can see basically right in here. I'm trying to get a mental screenshot of this, and you can say, well, what does this mean? I mean, for the price, and we're going to talk about it. But essentially, here's what we see now, right? Focus on the red and the orange, and then that's what we had back then. Much more bullish. You can see the angles of it, right? Especially the orange. You can see it was continuing to rise, right? This orange is starting to fall. So that's where I'm getting at. So that's, you know, when he talked about on his video today about Cardano and things like that, I totally agree. But again, I just wanted to emphasize and explain sort of the, you know, going more in detail of what he's talking about as far as angles and things like that. So, but it's still fine. If we overlay the fractal, it's looking really good. It looks decent, right? We have a three-way move. So we could get this sort of waddling around in here, right? This sort of ranging price action, right? So the move that we got today, the dump, was actually right on time, right? So the fractal actually worked out. So we should expect some support to hold in down in here, right? And then for us to continue pumping to the upside, something like that. So now I'll get rid of the fractal so we can see something like that, right? So that's what we kind of have to work with. So we know, right, if we lose this low, right, basically these closes, we don't want to close below these closes, right? So we have a lot of order blocks in here. We don't want to close below that, right? So I'll just put a range right in here. So now, you know, we can see we had a bullish engulfing candle yesterday, a bullish engulfing daily candle yesterday. Today, you know, we have a bearish engulfing candle, right? It's not totally engulfing previous candle, but it is pretty bad as far as the short time frame goes. So let's zoom in and we'll talk about what we see here on the smaller time frame. So basically, according to the fractal, right? According to that fractal, we should head on down here. Now, what would be the count for that? Well, to me, it looks like, let me zoom in a little bit more. To me, it looks like either we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, and now we're getting 5. I don't like it because how big 4 is. I mean, you can see it came all the way back up here, which is pretty big. So what would be better is to say that this is a 1, 2, 3, right? Basically an ABC. And this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have an A, we come up for B, and now we're in the process of C. So maybe C gets us down here. So let's look and see if we can determine that here. So yeah, it looks like we're starting to dump again. So we have 1, 2, maybe this is 3. We're getting, you know, maybe 3 has one more hit. I don't know. But 3 looks like it's almost finished. Right, 1, 2, 3, we get 4, and then we come down for 5, something like that, right? So that whole thing would then be an ABC, So what we have potentially is a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, right? So we have 1, 2, and that's basically it. I mean, it's simple. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we have an A, we have a B, and a C. So A, B, C. Let's get down here, back down to this block in here. We'll back test it right in here, and then continue higher. So that's kind of the main idea now, is from looking at it from that perspective. And then also that will line up with the fractal, right? The sort of the new fractal. So basically, what does that mean? Well, it means what we've been discussing here, which is the possibility of us building a base, right? And that's important, right? If we're building a base in here, that is very good, right? So we have an A, B, C, an expanded flat, and now we're starting to build a base, right? Now, a lot can happen in here, right? Are people distributing, or are people accumulating? I would say both. A lot of people are distributing, a lot of people are accumulating. So basically this comes down to the battles between the bulls and the bears. Now, there is another thing that's a problem, and that's the liquidity, right? There's a lot of volume has decreased, and a lot of liquidity has decreased in the market. So that could be, short-term bearish, right, for us getting lower. So basically the idea here is we continue to range, right? Continue to range until we break out, which is exactly what I'm hoping. The other idea is to say, no, we're actually going to come down and back test this area back down in here, which means it's going to be a bigger move, right? Which means we're going to have an ABC, right? And then we have an ABC, and now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's the bearish idea, right? So you see what I did there? So we have an ABC here, right? Let me zoom in, and let me actually do it like this. So we have A, B, and C, which this is A, right? And then we have another 1, 2, 3. So that's our B leg, right? And now we are in the process of wave C. So that would be 1, 2. Now we're getting 3. Big dump. 4, and then 5. Back down to the back test level, right? And then this whole thing would be A, B, C, right? And then when you zoom out, it's actually, not too bad, but not too good either, right? Something like that. Basically a 3-way move back down. So whatever we do, we have to hold this area, right? We need to hold right in here. Somewhere in this range would be the best thing we can do, if in fact we lose it, right? So we have to talk about it. We have to talk about the bearish situation. So another reason why that could possibly be the case is because this is all resting on Bitcoin. If Bitcoin decides to come down, then it would actually be kind of normal here, because looking at the small time frame, it doesn't look finished at all. It looks like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C, and now we're in 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. It looks like we need more downside. I mean, the way this came down was pretty dramatic. So definitely have your radars up on that. But what I was trying to say here on the bigger time frame is, what we talked about yesterday is we can get something like this, right? Basically, I'll just try to wrap it up real fast, explaining yesterday's video. So we have two options for the bearish idea. So look at this. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We had a 5-wave move. What happened after that 5-wave move? We had a massive A, B, C, a big range in here, right? So if that's the case, well, let's look what we have now, right? We have the same thing here. We have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Just like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what if we have this move here, right? Maybe we go a little bit lower, we come back up, and then we come back down, and then we go sideways, and then we break out. So that's kind of the idea. That's the idea, right? And we're not quite there yet. We need to get back down to the bull market support band and then have a nice pump to the upside. So that's bearish idea number one. And basically what that does is it allows it to correct through time. So we establish these base. Remember, if you've been watching my videos for a while, you can remember, right, talking about the base, right? We had our first base, we had our second base, right? Because when you go back in time, my internet's just slow today, but essentially we had three bases. We had 1, 2, and 3. So I was expecting a third base in here, right? Because again, the previous cycles, they were a lot faster than this current cycle. So this one, right, we had two bases, 1, 2, but where's the third one at? We didn't get the third one. I was expecting right up here probably another base potentially, but we actually had a nice impulse. So the question now is, well, maybe we're getting the base now, right? Maybe it's just the delayed reaction, right? That's probably what's occurring here. From the bearish perspective, right? Because we had 3 bases here before a significant run up, right? And we have 2 bases, but we didn't get the third. Now we're developing the third at the all-time high instead of in the retracement levels. So it adds see, nothing's ever the same. Like history rhymes. It doesn't repeat, but it often rhymes. But there's always differences, right, in each market cycle. We can compare market cycles, and they're very similar, but a lot of times they're different, right? So it's harder to do with the altcoins because you really only had 1 or 2 cycles to go off of. So yeah, we have base 1, base 2, maybe we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we're getting that third base, right? And then once you go to third base, where do you go after that? You go home, right? Which is the moon. Our home is on the moon. So yeah, that's kind of the situation. The other idea, the other bearish idea, is more fast and furious, which suggests that this is A, right? This is B, and then we come down hard for C, right? And then we go. So it's the same type of ABC, but it's structured differently, right? It's much more, instead of correcting through time, we're correcting through price, right? So, and then when you zoom out, it looks like a normal ABC, right? It looks actually beautiful. It looks like a proper pullback, right? We have our resistance up in here. We come down and we're starting to round out, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C. 1, 2, 3, and now we're getting 4. We're in wave 4, right? So if wave 2 was this big, maybe wave 4 is this big. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we get 5. And then everybody's like, okay, now we have the bull run. Now it started. But guess what? We're already in the 5th wave. It's done. So that's kind of how I'm leaning towards. If we lose the bull market support band, let the record show. This is my main idea for that situation. right? It's either going to be this, which is a rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways breakout. That's what it is. Or an A, B, C, then breakout. So those are our two options, right? Those are our two options if we break the bull market support band. So that's kind of where we're sitting right now. Now, if we're bullish and we hold the bull market support band, then what we're going to want to see, right? What we're going to want to see is, come back down, right? A little bit lower, almost to the bull market support band or somewhere in this area, right? And then start ranging in here like like the fractals suggest, and then we can break out, right? So basically building a base in here, which is essentially rise, crash, retrace, and then we come down for reaccumulation. We go sideways in here, and then we break out. But if we lose this, then we're looking at 50K. Between 44 and 52. So that's that's the deal, right? So now let me look at a target here. Let's see if I do this, and I'll bring this from here to here, back up to here. You could see we have a 1618 target at 51K. So that is also a possibility as well. We might not have to come all the way down there. We might just, because we would completely lose the bull market support band. Maybe we come down and we wick down in here a little bit, right? So that's sort of where we're at. So it would be, let me try to make it a little bit clearer here. So this could be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Something like that. Which would really finish up the ABC, right? Because then we have A, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we don't really have the fifth wave yet, if you really think about it. So, those are my two main ideas. Basically, the difference is where we bottom out at, but the structure is the same. So, I was hoping it could be a WXY, where we have 3, 3, and then 3. But if this comes up, and then it comes back down, then it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we're for sure, probably going to get a bounce in here. Then the situation becomes, okay, is that finished? Or what we could see is something bigger, right? Like what we got back over here, right? Something like this. And let me put the bars pattern up so we can see how that would look. So something like that, right? Something like that, which basically means it's a zigzag, right? And we talked about this yesterday as well. A, B, C, right? Something like that. Or better yet, rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways breakout. So, the question is this a completed ABC, or is it going to be a zigzag, which means you have another B wave, you come all the way up here into a retracement, then you come all the way back down into a C leg, right? Getting, down in here around that 40K, or I would say between 40 and 50K. Really, you want to hold above 44. So I would say between 44 and 51K. So the whole thing becomes A, B, C, and then we can go to the moon, right? And that kind of makes sense to me now that because we're in summer, right? Summer is terrible. Summer sucks. You know, summer, we don't do anything, basically. So, you know, look at October right down in here. Once we get back down in October, which would be the 1 year anniversary of this channel, once we get down in October, between October and December, or really through April, is very bullish. So maybe we just have a long, grueling correction into October, November, December, and then we can pump to the upside, right? Because that would make sense to me, because it would take time out of the market. It would allow the market to cool off. It would allow the summer months to pass. It would allow for an ABC. It would allow for us to correct this move, because look, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now you need an ABC. If this is all if we break the bull market support. I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm saying if we break it. If we break the bull market support band, that's kind of what we're looking at here. So, yeah, that's the deal, right? That's the deal here. So that's why I'm saying we're at the break it or make it point. So a lot can happen in here. Just be very careful. I got some positions open that I might just close and wait. You know, I might just wait and see what happens. So, you know, I like to hedge, right? If I'm long, sometimes I like to short other things just to hedge myself. But anyway, that's what we're seeing here. So again, if we hold the bull market support band, then we kind of want to develop a base. We get out of here. But if we lose it, it all comes down to probably we're in May 10th. So I would say within the next week, I think we could have a good answer in here. Well, that brings me, you know, to XRP. I mean, what happens in that event, right? Well, right now we're still bullish because we're holding above, right? This could be a 1-2-1-2. It could be very bullish. So if we can hold some support in here, we can get going. You know, I would like to see a pump back into these retracement levels. That would be very nice to see that, you know, to get back up there. So if Bitcoin loses, man, my internet just sucks today. So if Bitcoin loses the bull market support band, then we're probably heading down, back down in this zone in here. So I would say between 37, or actually 33 and 42 cents, which would basically be, you know, 1, 2, 3 ABC, and now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we can start to get out of there, right? And that also makes sense, right? Because we have number 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So this is wave 1, and then we have an A, B, or actually an A, and then we have a B, and now this is C. So A, B, C, and then we bottom out here, and then we go. That's kind of how I'm thinking here if we lose the bull market support band. Okay, so another thing is, if that happens, that's exactly what happened the last time Bitcoin or XRP broke out, right? So this is basically repeating what happened over here. What I mean is this right here, right? So if I put a horizontal line right there, and then I put you know, the channel right here, you can see right here we broke both of them. So we broke the resistance line and we broke the channel. So right there, but basically what that was, right there, you can kind of see it was a liquidity grab, and then bam, we shot to the upside. So going back to where we are now, is that what's happening? Right? When you look at it, is that what's happening? Well, let's see. Here's our horizontal line. So we actually wicked below it, but is it enough? Maybe not. Right? And then here's our channel right here. So you can see the channel did wick below it right there, right? So if you look really closely, is that sufficient enough? Right there. Look at this. Right? Or do we need 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5? We come down here, we grab that liquidity below the channel and below the resistance line, just like last time, right? And then we go to the moon, right? That can certainly be the case. So go back again, look at it one more time. Here's our resistance line, or our support line, and then here's our basically our channel in here, right? Our channel, something like that. I didn't draw it right, but it's okay. The main thing is right here. So you can see we broke it there and we broke it here as well, and then bam, we shot up. So I asked myself again, is that what's happening now? Right, here's our support line. If we come down and break it, boom, we can hold it here and then climb up to the moon. So that's what I'm looking at. That's what I'm seeing. Let's see if it plays out. I don't know. Very interesting though about that. So as far as XRP versus Bitcoin goes, looking at our fractal, right, basically our price movement here, where we dump down, we have this little hump here, we shoot up, we come back down, we go sideways, and then we break out. And if you go, well, what am I talking about? I'm talking about the fractal, right, for XRP versus Bitcoin, which is on the XRP price chart. Let me show you. So here's our price right here. We had a big dump, right? We had the hump here, right? It curved around, and then bam, we shot back up, and then we came down, and then we went sideways in here, right? We had a 3-wave move down. Actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves, and then we went sideways, and then we moonshot. So here we go again, XRP versus Bitcoin. We had the dump, we had the hump, we came back up, we came down, now we're going sideways. Is that still holding up? Yeah, it is. I didn't like this big pump up in here, but it actually looks good. I mean, it actually looks really good. We have an A, a B, and a C. We have a nice 3-wave shape, right? And now we're starting to sort of impulse off the low here. So that's kind of what I'm looking for, right? If we want to see XRP versus Bitcoin hold above this little zone in here for the fractal to remain true, and then essentially, if Bitcoin crashes down below the bull market support band, it obviously could change. But in the event that we continue to hold it and things like that, we can start to see some movement like this, and then continuation. So that's kind of what I'm liking to see. It doesn't mean it's going to happen, right? The other more bearish option is that this whole thing is is not finished yet. What I mean by that is we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's 1. This is 1, 2, right? This whole thing could be 3. And then we come up for 4, and then we come down for 5, right? I mean, there's a lot of waves going on in here. It'd be very complex to count it, but to me it looks like it's finished. I thought this was the 4th wave in here. I mean, it looked pretty good. So we'll have to wait and see. Now, in order for this to become valid, we have to break above this. So above about 1,040 or to 1,050 satoshis. As far as the short time frames goes, I mean, it looks kind of like a little fractal here. I remember where we have 1, 2, and then we have this channel in here, and then we dump. So same thing that happened over here, right? You could see 1, 2, and then we had this channel in here, and then we dumped, right? So the question is the dump finished? Well, according to this, what this did is it still got some further downside to go. So, you know, there's a lot to look at here. I mean, it does not look good right now. We need to find some support in here. I mean, technically we do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So maybe this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we get one more 5 down in here. But yeah, I want to see a retracement of this wave for XRP. I mean, just looking at Doge, it looks like it's gonna break it here. I mean, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, right? It looks like you need 5. Come back down here and then hold up. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on it. Well, I mean, it's Friday, getting close to the weekly candle. I would have liked to seen a strong weekly candle, but it's not looking so good. We still have a shoulder ahead, and we could still develop that other shoulder in here, so we have to wait and see how that plays out. Theta Fuel. Theta Fuel has still so much room. You know, even if Bitcoin did dump, it's got a lot of room. We have 3, and maybe we get 5 and come back down here, right? So a lot of things are looking down for the moment, which would create a nice 3-wave shape. Theta, I mean, Theta is like right at the edge here. It looks like it's you know, hanging by a thread, but to me it looks like we have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It looks like it needs to come back down here. So we'll see what happens. And yeah, it's still bullish as long as we hold above the bull market support band. We're still just developing a base, right? We're at the top of the base, come down to the bottom of the base, right? As long as we stay within this base, we're creating, you know, a larger structure, right? When you zoom out here, we're basically just consolidating in here before the breakout. Now again, if Bitcoin loses the bull market support band, then this is an A, right? We have another drop. We could drop down lower, back down to, what is that, $1.40 or so? So, you know, same thing, right? We can come up, come down, right, to the back test this area here, and then either that's the end of it and we continue higher, or it turns into a zigzag where you have 5, 3, and then another 5. A big ABC. I don't like it because it's so big, but it gets us back to October, which would make sense, right? Because it's seasonality, right? It would get us to that winter months, which would be very, very bullish for the upside. So something like that. So that would kind of be my main idea if we lose the bull market support band. So let me repeat that. If we lose the bull market support band on Bitcoin, then I'm expecting this to be like this. We back test and then we go. Or we come down, we back test, we come back up, and then we have a zigzag. We have basically a big ABC. And then we go. So we'll cross that bridge when we get there. We're not there yet. So far, things are still holding up. We have a dumpy day today. Let's see if we have a better day tomorrow. Who knows? We might get a big pump over the weekend. We'll see. But anyways, that'll do it for this video. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. If you made it this far, definitely hit that like button and drop a comment. Let me know what you guys think. Yeah, I will catch you guys on the next one. Cheers.